Nice to see you again on my channel. Let's dive into the new story and try to resolve it together in the comments below after watching this video. Get comfortable and let's begin. This is a bit of an outburst, but I needed to get it off my chest. The wedding of my wife, 30 years old, female, and myself, 33 years old, male, took place 2 weeks ago. We have been together for 8 years, married for 5, and have 2 children. A little background information will be provided to help understand some aspects later on. We met because we were both interested in the punk music scene and spent a lot of time together after that. Even though I became bored of going to concerts and shows as the years went by, my wife remains a fan of these events. Consequently, she expressed an interest in attending a performance which I declined, as is customary. However, she went with a group of our friends, and as is customary, I encouraged her to have a good time. Later in the evening, I received a Snapchat from one of my concert companions. The image showed another friend at the bar behaving weirdly, with words written over it. I'm not sure why they handed it to me, but then the camera pans and zooms in on my wife, who is conversing with a guy. They seem to be enjoying each other's company, and I'm confused as to why they gave it to me. There was nothing physical, just an incredibly intimate conversation that seemed quite enticing in nature. In an attempt to find out what's going on, I sent them an email, but I never got a response. I started texting my wife, but she didn't answer. I am frustrated. I had complete faith in my wife, and despite the concerning wording above the video, I told myself that everything was okay and attempted to sleep. However, this is not acceptable. I cannot sleep, and when I do manage to go to sleep, I awaken with a tense stomach, checking my phone for messages, of which there are none. I wake up to the sound of the door opening and mild whimpering at 4 a.m. Right now, I'm lying in bed, and my heart is racing. She walks into the room, sits by my side, and pretends to be sleeping. She shakes me, indicating that we need to talk about something. She claims to have had an encounter with another person that night. My whole world came crashing down in the time it took me to say those words. My blood felt like it was on fire, and I felt like I was getting needled pins all over my body. I'm just sitting here in misery right now. She reached out for my hand, but I rebuffed her advances. She is weeping and expresses sorrow and remorse for her actions, as well as her apologies. In order for her to understand how badly I've been hurt, I plead for more information. She reports that they met during the concert, chatted, and became friends after that. She said that she had lost herself, and it felt like we were on our first date all over again. Upon further investigation, she stated that they tried to pull her away, but she lied and claimed that he was an old acquaintance with whom they were having a catch-up. After leaving the concert with him, she went to his home to have sex with him. It was after having sex with her boyfriend that she says she fell asleep briefly before awakening and asking, "What have I just done?" She says she has to go and tells him that she has been crying the whole taxi ride back to her apartment. How could you, and why did you, are the first questions I ask. Everything's all of it was her only explanation. She had renewed her first date feelings with him, and he reminded her of herself when she first met me. We had a wonderful marriage together. There was a lot of affection, communication, love, and understanding. She had no issues with our marriage at the time. Everything had been a colossal mistake. I'm sure she's apologetic. I'm well aware of how sad she is. That is the most difficult component of the situation. I could understand if I was failing as a husband and she was dissatisfied with my performance. Everything, on the other hand, was fine. The previous 2 weeks have seen her face a lot of flack from friends and family members for being very honest about what she's gone through. Every day, I see on her face how much she wishes she could go back in time and how much she wants to reconcile with her ex-husband and children. My feelings were amazing when I woke up yesterday. I must have had a lovely dream or something, and I thought about all the excellent things we had and how I shouldn't let anything ruin what we both believed to be a perfect marriage. When I went to inform her that I wanted to collaborate on this project, I was truly excited. However, as soon as I saw her, everything went out the window. I'm thinking of getting a divorce. Please accept my apologies for the suffocating amount of text. Instead of crying into a pillow, I wanted to get this out into the open somewhere, anywhere. I condensed the content since it was getting unwieldy in its length. Please feel free to ask any questions you may have. Edit. This is generating a lot more interest than I had anticipated. I want to express my gratitude to everyone for their assistance. Everyone who has remarked that it's only been 2 weeks and I'm already on the verge of divorcing, I completely understand. I'm not planning on consulting with an attorney anytime soon. The only thing I was intending to do was express my present state of mind. We will initially split, but I have made it clear to her that I want to divorce her in the near future. I'm not sure whether the time apart will be useful to me or detrimental. Thinking about our future together, I just do not see myself being able to deal with the baggage and triggers that have accrued, and I feel it would be better for me to start over from the beginning. Update: there is just a brief background explanation. In early March, my wife and I had a one-night affair, which she told me about the night before D-Day. I was shocked. I'm almost certain that I'm going to be divorced. I had hoped to complete this task sooner, but I got a little carried away when focusing on my own appearance. She moved out around 2 weeks after my last post was published in early April, and it really feels as though a curse has been lifted off my shoulders. That month of having her here, seeing her every day, and constantly being reminded of what she had done had a devastating effect on me. I was depressed and prone to abrupt mood swings. I would get a sudden burst of wrath and lose control. After she's gone, I don't dread going back home or getting out of bed in the morning anymore. I'm going out and doing some work around the house, and I'm feeling good about it. It's been a pleasant experience. In the meantime, she has moved in with her mother, who is probably the only person who would accept her until she can find a place of her own or until I take her back, neither of which is likely. Throughout this process, my friends have been really helpful and supportive of me. There are just a few individuals who are still willing to speak with her, even if they disagree with what she has done. I happened to run into one of these friends, who also happens to be her coworker, and she told me that she is not doing well at the moment, depressed and not functioning well at work, among other possibilities. I can't deny that hearing that made me grin, despite the fact that I don't wish her any special misery. I did inquire as to whether she had provided her with any rationale for doing so. I got a message that was very similar to mine, with the addition that she was feeling selfish and wanted to be alone for a night, which she now regrets. This prompts me to seek professional help. Having previously said that when she left the house, I started to emerge from my depression and that I had a wonderful support network in the form of my friends, I decided not to seek counseling at this time. She expressed an interest in attending couples counseling, but I denied and recommended her to figure things out on her own. Many people have inquired as to why I am so willing to walk away from this marriage. I understand that some people are able to move on from a situation like this, but I am not one of them. It would infect me if I stayed with her for an extended period of time. It would spread over time, and I would just degenerate into nothingness. But it isn't what I want, and I would like to start again. Do I have a strong desire for her? Yes. But I miss my wife before she cheated on me. The person she has become is completely different from the one I married. This may have been a bit rambling, but I was merely attempting to get across the main points without going on for too long. On the whole, I'm doing well, and I'm working hard to find a way to be happy again. I've made the decision to cope with my partner's infidelity on my own. I need advice. My 27-year-old wife, 26F, had a year-long romance with another man, and it has now become public. I'm still undecided about whether or not to reconcile with her. Hello and good day to everyone. This might take a very long time. I'm writing this from a friend's home where I'll stay for at least a couple of days before moving into a hotel for the night. Unfortunately, I discovered the existence of this sub after experiencing something that I would have never imagined happening in a million years. For the last year, my 3-year-old wife has been having an affair with a colleague who is also her boss. I know him personally. I found out about this through her Gmail account on her laptop, which had been left open and logged in by accident. I had no intention of reading her email, I just happened to see it in my inbox and was intrigued by the content. Afterwards, I went through her phone with her and double-checked the information. I'm not going to lie, I was completely taken by surprise by this. We had, or at least had the appearance of having, a pleasant relationship. We were often intimate with one another and never really got irritated with one another. When we first met in college, we dated for almost 2 years before getting married. We had discussed the possibility of starting a family in the next year or two, now that I have a well-paying job and had grown in my field. I didn't have a shred of suspicion at all. She's brilliant, and she's done an excellent job of concealing her tracks and leaving no trace. She never came home late at night, was aloof or chilly toward me, and did not express love for me in any way. She never once voiced displeasure or unhappiness with our relationship or our relationship with her. It would have been impossible for me to try to remedy anything since I was completely unaware of what was wrong. I discovered from her texts and emails that they usually got together during their lunch breaks or left work early in order to travel to a hotel or motel together. The other guy is not married, but he has been with the same woman for a long time. I haven't told her about it yet, and I haven't even spoken to the other person about it. In lieu of working yesterday, I visited a friend's home and left a letter for my wife on the table. I told her everything. When she returned home, she did, in fact, make a number of phone calls and send text messages. Initially, I didn't answer at all, but when I did, she fell into tears and begged me for forgiveness, insisting that she had made a dumb mistake and would do anything she could to make up for it. We spoke for a long time, but I didn't say anything really noteworthy, and I am still undecided about what I'm going to do. I'm not going to lie, I love her, but I'm not capable of dealing with betrayal of any kind, and this is right up there. The problem is that when I was 18 years old, I fell into a terrible depression from which I was unable to recover for many years. Exercise and boxing were the only things that helped me get through it. It took me 3 years, and now I'm slipping further and deeper into that abyss. As much as I admire her, I have a strong dislike for her as well as the other guy in the story. It has occurred to me that I should approach the other person and severely injure him, but my friend has warned me not to do so. I'm well aware that my emotions are taking control of my thoughts at the moment, which is why I wanted to be away from my wife and our apartment for a period of time to allow reason to regain its foothold in my mind. Seeing her weeping makes me feel sorrow for her, which is something I don't want to feel at this point in time. My logical side is pushing me to divorce her right now, but I'm not sure I want to do that yet. I've pondered whether or not I'll ever be able to put my confidence in her again, and I feel the answer is no. But here's the thing, I consider myself to be a fair person who makes an effort to consider all sides of a problem whenever possible. When I stumbled into her /adultery, I was looking around infidelity forums. My expectations were that it would be similar to this sub, but it turned out to be diametrically opposed. However, I did go through a few of the comments in the hopes of better understanding my wife's motivations for doing so. For the most part, the posts were about the excitement of trying something new, fulfillment, striving to escape misery in their marriage, and other such topics. The point is, and I'm not just saying this, I don't see how any of those difficulties could have arisen in the first place. My wife has always been intelligent and mature, which is why I find it difficult to fathom her actions, no matter how hard I try to understand them. She told me over the phone that it didn't mean anything and that she regretted it more than anything else for having done it. But then, what's the point? As soon as I inquired about the reason, she nearly said that she didn't know, that it was a mistake in judgment, and so on. Was it a 1-year lapse in judgment? I'm now second-guessing everything and questioning if I've wasted years of my life for nothing. I'm not sure I'll ever be able to put my confidence in another woman again. I don't think I'll ever be in a relationship with anybody again. Obviously, no human being is without defects, but what's the point of making a commitment to someone when you're going to walk out and find someone else later on? Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Every one of these revelations had to come out somewhere, even if it was on the internet. But the marriage isn't going to last, and I'm not sure what I'll do in the meantime. My daughter's mother, whom I love, has called me 3 times, but I have not answered any of her phone calls. I haven't told anybody about it yet, with the exception of a close friend with whom I am now living. I've taken screenshots of their emails and messages in case I need to use them as proof in the future. The brief version is as follows. My wife had a year-long affair, which I found out about via emails and text messages she sent to me. I left her a message in which I explained everything, and then I went to visit with a friend for a few days. I haven't yet had the opportunity to meet her. Although she's distraught and pleading with me to stay together and work through the issues, it's still too early for me to make a fair choice at this point. I think I'm just looking for input/advice from those who are more senior/experienced than I am. Edit. Thank you so much for taking the time to read and respond to my posts. I really appreciate all of your support. Here are a few topics that have come up time and time again. I've decided not to engage in combat with the other party since my emotions have gotten the best of me at the time. I'm going to get an STD test, and I'm going to convince her that she should do the same too. I'm leaning toward divorce at the moment since I can't see ever looking at her in the same way after this experience. I'll need some time to think about it, and I'll need to talk to her about it as soon as I'm through. Her mother has since messaged me, demanding that I contact her on her behalf. In addition, she is a beautiful person who has always been motherly to me throughout my time knowing her. As a result, I will be calling her shortly to chat with her about this before I talk to my wife. Thank you. I despise the fact that there are so many comments because it implies that a large number of you men and women have had a similar experience. Posting this here and talking about my experience is aiding me in releasing everything, and I will offer an update as soon as one is ready, so stay tuned. Update as soon as possible. So, I went for a long walk yesterday and returned the phone call to my mother-in-law. However, I did mention that her daughter had been seeing someone else behind my back for quite some time, albeit I did not go into details. She was understandably enraged, but she did not try to push me into staying with my wife. I was relieved. We spoke for a while, and she asked if I would call my wife, but I told her I would only do so when I was ready to explore the situation further. My friend's home was across a bridge that I was walking over, and I'm not going to lie, there was a moment when I pondered jumping off. I convinced myself that it would make things a whole lot easier. However, I immediately let go of the notion and chuckled. It's amazing what our minds can conjure up when we're not paying attention. In fact, I'm afraid my mind is already made up that I'll file for divorce since I can't see a scenario in which I won't be resentful of her, regardless of whether or not we end up together. I'll give her the opportunity to say all she believes she has to say before informing her of my decision. I'll provide an update after we've had a chance to talk. I'm thinking. Guys, thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate that you have devoted your time to my work, specifically on this channel. If you subscribe to the channel, I will be happy. But if you decide to talk to me in the comments about this story, I will be even happier. Stay tuned for my next story on this channel.